All right. Fourth time's going to be a charm for this. I stopped my recording and then I didn't have my mic on. So anyway, very popular finance YouTuber, Meet Kevin, about 1.5 million subscribers on YouTube, put out a video with a fairly provocative title, which as a lot of these YouTubers do, how the complete collapse of cryptocurrencies would happen, which caught my attention. I'm always in favor of hearing bearish cases, but I watched this once all the way through, and I found it to be just a little bit misinformed and just unfortunate, I guess, for someone with his following to put out. But it's good. I think what's eventually going to happen is because this mostly revolves around the platform Gemini, headed by the Winklevoss twins of fame of originally inventing Facebook. But I think someone will explain this to him and he'll get it. But just wanted to put this out quickly. It's way too late for me to be doing this, but just wanted to quickly get it out there. So maybe I can get Kevin's attention here before somebody with a little bit more clout than little old me. So let's do it. Let's hear the doomsday scenario.
Hey everyone, me Kevin here. This is going to be a hard video to make because I've got about over $1 million invested into cryptocurrency related assets and stocks. And folks, if what I'm about to describe ends up having serious issues at some point in the future, I could lose all of that money really dang fast. And I just want to make you aware of these potential issues because I don't actually think they're very, very clear to society. So let's make this as simple as possible and get right into it. Please don't hate me for talking about the scenario. I don't want people to think this is like doom and gloom. Just, it is a possible scenario. Give it a chance. If you deposit $100 with Gemini, you do not keep $100 because they're not a bank. They can't take your money. Instead, you'll get 100 GUSD. Let's say your name is Kevin. You get 100 GUSD.
Which, if they're anything like Coinbase, you can keep both. I have not used Gemini, so I don't know. Which sounds dumb since I'm making a video about this, but I do. What he's talking about does also apply to any crypto lending platform. So anyway, we'll get there. We'll get there.
And maybe Gemini had the 100 GUSD to give you. So you get 100 GUSD. That's it. That's your name. What does Gemini get? Gemini gets $100. What can they do with that? They can pay their employees. They can lend it out to other people, which would be like hard money loans. So they could lend that money, or they could buy more cryptocurrency with it. If they buy more cryptocurrency with it, in theory, the more customers they get, the more institutional demand there could be for cryptocurrencies, and the more the cycle could repeat itself. It's like, oh, more deposits we get, the more crypto we buy, the more deposits we get, and then of course the more crypto goes up, the more people want it, right? Because things that go up attract people. Oh gosh, that's
no jokes here. Come on. This is very serious content. Come on. We need you to be focused. We need no funny business.
Never mind. Keep going. Pretend I didn't say that.
Funny business.
Anyway, now I go to Gemini and I'm like, hey, you know what? I heard I can earn interest on my Gemini. Like, that's pretty cool. How do I do that? Well, folks, there's something called Gemini Earn. In fact, here it is, Gemini Earn. Put your crypto balance to work with Gemini Earn. You can earn up to 7.4% APY on your cryptocurrency.
And I think anyone who is at least somewhat educated on financial things, moderately, maybe even, has to realize like that return is coming from somewhere. Like they don't just give it. They're not just going to give it to you. Like they're making it somewhere. So what we have here is crypto banking. You deposit your crypto, they loan it out to other people, they take a certain interest rate for the loan, and they pass it on to you for providing liquidity. So that's how the traditional banking system works, and that's how crypto banking works. But there are differences, and we will get into those.
So what do people immediately think? They think, oh, cool, I can make 7.4% on my crypto because it's crypto and there's just not a lot of liquidity in the crypto market yet, so they're able to pay me 7.4% somehow. At least that's the answer I get when I talk to professionals in this industry. It's like, oh yeah, well, they need that liquidity or whatever, so they can pay you all that extra money. I just thought about this today, or well, actually yesterday for like 6 hours, and I'm putting the thoughts together today in a video, and I'm like, I don't know about this, because why?
It's not even that they're just getting it somehow. Like you can look at the rewards for the APYs, the annual percentage yield for depositing, and then you can look at their loan rates, and it makes sense. I mean, they're taking like 0.5%, 1/4%, something like that. They're passing on the rest of it.
If I have 100 GUSD in this account and I start earning 7.4%, I think I have that 100 GUSD that I could always turn into dollars, which technically is true. GUSD, USDC, Tether are all technically pegged to the dollar, which means I should always be able to redeem my 1 GUSD or USDC or Tether for $1 US. But unfortunately, that relationship does not have to stay at $1 for any other reason other than people say that, well, we have $1 of backing for the GUSD in an account somewhere, and don't worry, it's fine. In fact, if you look at the GUSD price on, let's say, CoinMarketCap, the website, you'll see it fluctuates. And what happens is people who arbitrage come in, and when they see that GUSD is trading for 99 cents, they buy it, sell it at $1, and that's how you maintain the peg. You actually maintain the peg by trading it. Okay, so
that's not the only way that you maintain the peg. Stable, that's it. It's not enough financial incentive, right, for people to just rely on people that want to like make a few basis points arbitraging your relatively illiquid, I mean, compared to traditional financial assets, relatively illiquid stable coin. So what happens is the smart contract of the stable coin mints and it burns that coin. So to meet demand, because what is a price? It's only supply and demand. Those are the only two forces. I mean, other than manipulation in a pure free market. That's all that we have. We only have the pure supply and demand. So, I mean, and this is pretty close to it. So how do they maintain it? Well, they destroy or they create coins to meet the demand. And you can see that this happens. There is a Twitter account called Whale Alert. We got Jay Powell running the money printer. That's good. And this thing, I mean, basically is just big crypto transactions of whatever different ones. But I knew, I didn't have this prepared before, but one of my previous recording attempts, I went to this and I found it. I didn't have to scroll far down, right? I was up here. I'm like, oh, can I find some minting, some stable coin minting? Because right now there's demand, right? So we're not really burning. But hey, right here, 7,018,857 USDC. That's, I mean, it works the same way as GUSD, but this is Coinbase and Circle's stablecoin, minted at USDC Treasury, and you can find it on Etherscan. Got everything here that we need to verify that this happened. But they do create coins to meet increasing demand, or they will burn coins to meet decreasing demand. So yeah, it's not just arbitrage.
What happens to my actual GUSD when I sign up for something like Gemini Earn or any kind of interest-bearing? Doesn't have to be a USD, like a stable coin. It could be any cryptocurrency. What happens when I get interest on my cryptocurrency? Well, I'm lending it. And I'm told that I'm lending this to institutional borrowers. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, I mean, like institutional borrowers probably aren't going to go bankrupt, right? Haha, well, that's where it gets really entertaining, because who could be deemed an institutional borrower? So let's say I got my money over here at Gemini. They're going to lend this 100 GUSD now to some other institutional borrower. Well, let's just make up a company here. We'll call them CryptoFi. And Michael is going to come over to CryptoFi, and he's going to deposit $100 with CryptoFi. And
I don't know why he wouldn't say BlockFi. I don't know, because he's like Gemini and CryptoFi. It's like, oh, well, okay. I guess he was just, I don't know.
CryptoFi, because they don't accept dollars as well, they're going to convert that money to GUSD. Now, you've got Gemini that got $100, CryptoFi that got $100. They could spend this on whatever. Buy more crypto, employees, loans, whatever they want. They got cash, and we got a digital representation of that cash. But wait a minute, CryptoFi borrowed that 100 GUSD from Gemini. And now Michael says, hey, you know what? I want to sign up for, CryptoFi Earn. And I want to get 8% on my GUSD. Why would I not park my savings here? Heck, you know what? I'm going to refinance my house at 3% and invest it at 7% over here and make the 4% difference. Great. Cool. Signs up for Earn as well. What happens then? Now the money goes over here to, let's say, Voyager. And Sally is going to deposit $100 over here at Voyager, and she gets 100 GUSD as well. She could keep that there. And literally this cycle could keep going on for thousands of iterations. Like, we could literally see one set of 100 GUSD sitting in 100 people's different bank accounts. And they're not really bank accounts, but that's what we think of them as. We think, hey, it's pegged to the dollar. It's pegged to the dollar one to one. And if it's pegged to the dollar 1 to 1, it's kind of like having cash, except it's kind of like a high yield savings account. But that's the problem. It's not.
And this is what he's missing, is that it's not backed. Yes, the stable coin is backed by dollars. And he goes through that, like the actual Gemini USD financial disclosures. But it's not backed by that. These loans are what's called over collateralized. So over collateralized means to take out the loan, you must have some level over what you're pulling out in value. So why does a mortgage work? Well, the bank can repossess your house, and it's probably gone up. You know, good chances are good that they've made some money back and it's gone up. Well, why does a car loan work? Because if you stop making your payments, they can take your car. And maybe that probably hasn't gone up, but the interest is quite a bit, and it's based on your credit. This is based on your collateral. So this is what gets me about saying that he researched this for 2 hours, because it's like, dude, you can just go right here to BlockFi and just learn about their loans, right? I just Googled BlockFi loan terms, and it's like how it works. But like, dude, just right here, there's what is an LTV? What is an LTV ratio of a loan? You should consider the LTV loan to value ratio of the loan. The LTV determines the amount of crypto collateral you need to provide the lender before receiving your loan. BlockFi offers LTVs up to 50%, but can change depending on the client's needs. Lower LTVs protect borrowers from margin calls because conservative lenders are less likely to liquidate your collateral. Click here to learn more about how LTV works. So what they're saying here is we won't even, in general, can change depending on clients' needs, but in general, we will not loan you less, or we will not loan you more rather than half of the collateral that you've got in there. So if you have, very simply put, 2 Bitcoin in there in deposited on BlockFi, you cannot borrow more than 1 Bitcoin. And when you go into this, it explains learn more about collateralized loan. Dang it. I don't think this is where I was before. But I was trying to get to the page where they explain how it works. When they just right, it's in the 3rd paragraph. Collateralized loan. Like, you should have. This should have put some sort of alarm bells ringing when they said that it was collateralized. Because I think the case that he puts out here is that it's not, because he doesn't seem aware of it at all. He never mentions it. Never mentions anything about the loans being collateralized. I think the point that he's putting out here is they're only collateralized 1-to-1 by the last guy's deposit, which isn't the case. Yes, they're lending that out, but also the borrower must have collateral against the loan. So now that we've put that at the main point out there about why this scenario, it can't really go down. Let's hear more.
It's a loan. If they made you sign a document saying you agree to lend this and you could lose all of it.
So no, you know what? Actually, I do need to go into more of this. Because it explains why they can't get okay, never mind. We'll do this in a bit.
People probably would be less inclined to do this, but that's all in the fine print. They just say, hey, sign up and earn interest on your cryptocurrency. It sounds so wonderful. They don't make it clear that this is actually a loan. Now, that doesn't become a problem because right now, your GUSD doesn't fluctuate in value because it's pegged to the dollar and the markets are working normally. Prices are going up. You got nothing to worry about because as prices go up there.
I mean, they don't make it clear, but like BlockFi's whole, see, I don't know about Gemini. It's called Gemini Earn. So it's like almost could be like something more perceived as like proof of stake of like, you know, staking rewards, which is completely different. That's a whole different world to this, but it's like BlockFi's whole thing is like traditional banking services for crypto investors. Well, what's banking? I put my money on there. They loan it out to other people and they pay me some sort of interest rate.
There usually isn't stress in the markets, right? So when does this become a problem? Well, let's say Sally says, you know what, I'm going to get some margin. I'm going to buy Bitcoin for $100. I'm going to get $25 of margin from Voyager here, and I'm going to have $125 invested in Bitcoin. Now, let's say Bitcoin goes from 55K to 5K. That's a big drop. It's about 91%, right? Well, this is going to go down 90% to about $12.50. What happens now? Well, now Sally gets wiped out. Sally got destroyed, and this could be a flash crash.
And Sally, and what I was trying to find was, and they explain it. I'll have to find it. I'll look over here on a different screen. But what happens is that Sally gets wiped out. Yes, her collateral gets wiped out. She just borrowed 25%. She just borrowed at a 25% loan to value ratio. But it's not going to once it gets to, I think BlockFi said 70% that they send you your first margin call and you have 72 hours to post more collateral or pay down the loan to keep that ratio in line. Or it goes higher and it goes up to 80% and they liquidate you. But at no point does it get to 100%. Because that's too close. If it's more than 100%, then that's a negative return for the lender, and they're not going to let that happen when they started this whole thing out in this example at 25%. The higher it goes, the worse it is for them, right? So they're not going to let it get over 100% where they've lost money on this loan. They're going to liquidate you before that.
This could
BlockFi liquidates you at 80%.
Day. Sally instantly gets destroyed because you have smart contracts that instantly take her money away, give it to Voyager. The problem is Voyager is left with an asset that's worth a whole lot less than what they thought it would ever be worth.
Not if they liquidate the loans before that.
So now they only have $12.50. They just lost money. When a company or an institutional investor loses money, and this happens at scale amongst hundreds or thousands of different client accounts, because we have no idea how many people are on margin. We don't get that kind of transparency from the system. We don't know. We don't know how often this GUSD is lent out over and over again. We have no idea. Let's say Voyager goes bankrupt. Okay, Voyager goes bankrupt because they're like, wow, we just had all these margin losses. Well, CryptoFi is probably going to have some issues as well, but I'll tell you the first thing that's going to happen. Kevin and Michael are going to be like, oh crap, please let me have my GUSD back. And all of a sudden, we're going to see a lot of people instantly demand turn my GUSD into dollars right now. The market's crashing. I'm freaking out. Okay, now, and I know some of you are going to think, Kevin, come on, the same stuff happens in fractional reserve banking. Hold that thought. Okay, I'm going to put a little note down here. Fractional reserve banking. We're going to talk about fractional reserve banking. hold that thought, because there's a massive difference. Quite a few actual massive differences here.
Yeah, you're right. This is a much better system because it's over collateralized. There's a traditional bank is just looking at your credit report and they will give you an unsecured loan. I mean, that's what like Lightstream is. They'll just, if your credit is good, they're just like, oh yeah, here's an unsecured loan at 8% interest. Like, there you go.
So what happens now? Now you've got two people who think they have $100 of GUSD in the bank. They're like, I want to redeem. Okay, well, what happens? Gemini and Cryptofy say, hey, look, we're in a crisis right now. No redemptions. Literally no redemptions. They could do that. It's happened before. Look at Bitfinex. Bitfinex, a Chinese company, uses Tether as their stablecoin, and in October of 2018, they stopped allowing deposits, and so nobody was able to convert US dollars or Chinese dollars or whatever, or euros, into Tether, and the one-to-one peg of the Tether collapsed. It went down as low as 85 cents to $1, and there was no market crash. Bitcoin was stable around $6,000 when that happened. No crash, no collapse, and Tether loses 15%.
So it is interesting to base your entire video on Gemini USD and then give an example from the one stablecoin that everyone knows is shady and just paid out a big settlement to, I mean, you know, you can argue the merits of by which they paid out that settlement, but like, you know, or what they had to pay that settlement for. But you're going from one that's like actually reputable to one that's the shadiest on earth. And yeah, it can fall if there's a massive sell off, and it's not, and they can't burn the tether fast enough to maintain the one-to-one peg, and then that's when the arbitrageurs, people who arbitrage, can step in, because a 15% return is a whole lot better than 30 basis points. So anyway, let's keep going.
Boom, like that. But wait a minute, it's pegged to the dollar. Okay. You think Kevin and Michael are going to be able to go to the Fed and go, yo, I demand my US.
Okay, before we get into this, because now it's, okay. I think what he's saying here is that there's nothing backing. The only thing that's backing this whole system is the one-to-one peg with the stable coin. Because at the end of the day, you can, according to Gemini, to the promise that they made me by selling me their stable coin, I can always get $1 back, right? I go to Tyler Winklevoss and I'm like, yo, I'm done with your stuff. Give me $1. And Tyler Winklevoss gives me gives me an actual US dollar, not his, you know, US dollar derivative. It's what it is, right? It's an asset derived from the value of another asset. So that's not what's backing this. What's backing this is the over collateralization of the loans. And I did find the page. I was looking right at it, but just refusing to read. So here's how it works. Margin calls happen when the value of your, just start at the top. BlockFi's collateralized loans involve clients staking their crypto assets as collateral in order to borrow USD. We currently support collateral posted in Bitcoin, Ether, and Litecoin. BlockFi offers LTVs up to 50%. So this means the least collateral that you can post is double what you're taking out, right? Loan to value, 0.5. The lower that number is, the safer it is for the lender. right? The example that he gave was 25% loan to value. So that number is based on a proven model to limit our exposure to risk and our client's likelihood of hitting a trigger event. Margin call, and this is the important bit, margin calls happen when the value of your crypto collateral decreases outside of a safe range. BlockFi's first crypto margin calls occurs, crypto margin call occurs at a 70% LTV. At this time, the client has 72 hours to post additional collateral to bring the LTV within a healthy range. Clients can pay down their loan balance to fix the issue. If your LTV reaches 80% LTV, BlockFi will liquidate a portion of the collateral to lower the LTV back into the safe zone. So they won't even let it get higher than 80%. 100% is where they've broken even. More than 100% means they got wrecked. They lost money. And they're just not going to let it go. It's going to trigger a sale before then. I mean, we're talking about crypto exchanges. It's an exchange. It can execute trades. It's going to do it. And you would have to have an incredibly, I mean, just a nanosecond flash crash in order for this algorithm, for this code to be unable to liquidate this and not get wrecked. But I think that he's missing that these are collateralized, even though he kind of gave the example, but it's almost like he's almost like saying, well, I guess that's the argument. Is that the argument here, though? It just seems like he doesn't, even though he gave the margin example, that all these loans are collateralized or over collateralized heavily.
USD. No. Fed's going to laugh you. They're going to laugh you out of the bank. I mean, like, get out of here. We did not think Kevin and boom, like that.
He's going into the traditional financial system here with the Fed.
Wait a minute. It's pegged to
the Fed ain't got shit to do with all this. Oh, I muted him. Sorry.
Able to go to the Fed and go, yo, I demand. Okay. You think Kevin and Michael are going to be able to go to the Fed and go, yo.
Kevin, remember, because Voyager got wrecked with Sally over here, right? So these guys need to get paid. So now they're going to Jerome Powell, I guess. Let's hear more.
I demand my USD. No. Fed's going to laugh you. They're going to laugh you out of the bank. I mean, like, get out of here. We did not bestow our trust on the GUSD. You tried to inherit trust of the USD. You tried to inherit the sovereign banking, the backing of the full faith and credit of the United States via a stablecoin, but it doesn't work that way.
I think it's just incredibly naive. And it's not to say he's naive. I think he is about this whole crypto asset world, but it's incredibly naive to think that someone, just because they got wrecked on, counterparty risk in like a loan, which can't even really happen, but if they did let themselves get wrecked by not liquidating the borrower's collateral, that they're going to go to the Fed. I mean, anyway, it gets, if you think it's political now, it gets worse.
Quick example. I have, let's say,
I think crypto investors understand that none of this is backed by the U.S. government. I've never heard of any that are like, well, Jay Powell will just bail me out.
1,000 of these erasers, and I say, hey, I will always pay you $1 for this eraser right here because the value of this eraser is pegged to the dollar. Cool. Who are you trusting? The U.S. government or me? You're trusting me. If I go bankrupt.
Yes, that's what counterparty risk is. This is what happens when the government isn't in. It's not insuring this business like it does with the FDIC.
Worthless. Same could happen here. You get institutional bankruptcies. The value of those underlying coins, which are corporate controlled. This is not government controlled. They're corporate controlled. USDC is a consortium. They're private companies that control USDC. Gemini, private company that controls the Gemini coin. It's not a government. The government cares about the people. Corporations care about themselves, right?
Yeah, that's a political statement and a half. And you know, I won't go through. I won't explain. I won't, whatever, evangelize you with my libertarian views on the world, but I couldn't disagree with that more. I think that the government is, in its purest form, a monopoly on force that is there to steal your money and do whatever it wants with it. And they are in power by force. There is no free market for governments. I mean, yeah, I can move somewhere else, but I can't just say like, well, I have a competing government in this same pile of land. Like, no, well, congratulations, you're now committing treason. So anyway, I won't go into it too much, but I don't think the government cares about you. I think that private companies have a lot more incentive to do the right things, because if they don't, then they will not exist. So if they have a problem with a customer, they can make it right, and the government will tell you to pound sand.
No, now think about this. So we both go to claim the money. We're like, wait a minute, come on, Kevin. GUSD says they have passed through FDIC insurance and they got all the money sitting in a bank account. Like, we could just go claim the money at the bank account. Wait, who's we?
So yeah, this is more saying like that it's backed, and this is why I think that he doesn't understand the over collateralized thing. It just isn't aware of it. I mean, he barely glossed over it, and meanwhile, it's the whole dismantling to this argument, because he's like, well, they can get wrecked if the value goes down, not if they don't liquidate, right? So, getting repetitive here, but yeah, it's not. The loans aren't backed by Gemini in the case of GUSD, and therefore. And though, so the GUSD is backed by cash, but the cash is backed by the FDIC. So therefore, the GUSD, no, it's backed. The loan in the first place is backed by crypto assets, and it has to maintain a certain loan to value ratio, or it'll get liquidated, and then the borrower or the lender is made whole again, and they don't get wrecked.
Kevin does not own the GUSD anymore. Michael owns the GUSD in this example, or actually it went to Voyager. So technically none of these guys own the GUSD anymore, because the money's been lent out time after time after time after time. So now you look, if you're getting interest, the odds are your stablecoin is lent out. So you have no claim to the money that actually exists in those audited statements. And look at this. You go to an audited, that's just an example of some notes. You go to an audited statement of some company that basically gets hired by Gemini. So some auditing firm gets hired by Gemini to do an independent accountant's report. It actually does not say audited. It does say audit committee, but that could just be the audit committee at Gemini. So anyway, Gemini hires a CPA to say, hey, let the world know that our bank account shows we have $121 million and there are $121 million worth of Gemini coin in the bank account. They look and go, yep, numbers match, cool, pay us $1,000 for the signature, cool, thank you, bye. Actually, in a weird way, this is not signed by oh, there it is. Okay, it is signed by an independent accountant, because I just saw the Gemini signature and I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, so it is signed, that's fine, so it's signed. This could be totally true. This does not have to be wrong. But this does not mean that Kevin and Michael have a claim to that 121. The last person to borrow it has a claim to that 121. And when Kevin and Michael...
It's just that none of it matters if the loan, if the lender never goes under because they got their money back. So...
Michael?
Anyway, I'll let this run a little bit because I'm just kind of like saying the same thing here, but none of it kind of matters because the lender isn't going to let themselves get wrecked.
Get pissed that they thought they had something that was liquid like a savings account, and all of a sudden that money is not there, and they start filing lawsuits, and companies start filing lawsuits against each other for not being able to redeem Gemini, there are going to be people, or USDC or Tether, not to single out Gemini, sorry for singling out Gemini, there are going to be people who lose a ton of money just saying, get me out. Just give me 50 cents on the dollar, get me out. Here, you have the GUSD coin.
It's so far down the chain though, and the whole thing gets nipped in the bud right at the over collateralized loan. I mean, yeah, this is bad, and like if there was no system of collateral, this could certainly happen. But this just is multiple objects down the Rue Goldberg machine, and meanwhile it stalled out, way back there.
You deal with it. I want out. I want my money. Get me out of this. I thought it was like a savings account. I didn't realize all of the risks. I'm suing.
If you don't realize all the risk, you're just not doing your research. Sorry, there's always counterparty risk. And the first thing that people should be asking when they hear banking and crypto is, well, what's backing it? And the answer is over collateralization by at least, 50% loan to value.
Look, when you go to Gemini Earn,
or should I say at the most? Yeah. Two times what you've put in that you're allowed to borrow.
You have to go to the foot.
And that's industry standard. That's not just BlockFi. I know I'm using the example of BlockFi, but it's because I'm familiar with that platform, and I've read that page before. Before I put any of my crypto on BlockFi, I looked, and I was like, okay, yeah, it makes sense.
Footnote. You have to go to the footnotes over here, like footnote 1, and it's tiny. Look how tiny this is, right? You probably can't even see that. Depending on availability, Gemini Earn is a lending program through which you may choose to lend your cryptocurrency to certain institutional borrowers. Okay, cool, so it's in the fine print, but let's be clear, it's not very crystal clear disclosure that you're not always going to be able to
Wait, let's hear that fine print again?
Okay. Through which you may choose to lend your cryptocurrency to certain Gemini Earn this is, right? You probably can't even see that. Depending on availability, Gemini Earn is a lending program through which you may choose to lend your cryptocurrency to certain institutional borrowers. Okay, cool, so it's in the fine print, but let's be clear, it's not.
Yeah, so all that is just saying, like, this is a banking service. Your yield isn't coming from nowhere. We are loaning this out. See, I wanted to watch that again because I was like, does that say that it's not that, like, their loans aren't collateralized? No. And bro, you scrolled right past it, bro. Gemini is partnering with accredited third-party borrowers, including Genesis, who are vetted through risk management, which reviews our partners' collateralization management process. So all these loans are over collateralized, and they're gonna get liquidated if it reaches an unacceptable ratio.
Not very crystal clear disclosure that you're not always going to be able to get your money back on a one-to-one basis because you might not actually have a claim to it. If that leads to lawsuits, the value of stable coins absolutely gets obliterated and collapses instantaneously. And if that happens, the value of cryptocurrency. So all the people who are like, well, wait a minute.
And this is the doomsday scenario. This is like, oh, well, it spreads. And I guess it would spread to all crypto, but if it's not allowed to happen, then...
Kevin, like, I have my cryptocurrency in cold storage. Great, it's worth a lot less now, because if we see stable coins collapse, there could be a lot of lost trust in digital currencies, which what backs Bitcoin? Exactly, nothing. So there's no JPOW. Like I said, there's no JPOW coming to save you. Now, some people are like, but Kevin, they say there's pass-through FDIC insurance for the money that's kept at Gemini to back up the GUSD.
Doesn't matter.
Do you know what that means? Probably not, and that's okay because I didn't either. I'm not trying to. The point of this is not to make anyone feel bad. The point of this is to open up our eyes collectively here and go, wait a minute, I never thought about that. Okay, so who gets the FDIC insurance, folks? In what event do you get to claim the FDIC insurance? The Gemini dollar accounts are held and maintained at State Street Bank and Trust Company, folks. The FDIC insurance is not for Gemini. It's for state. It's based on the potential failure of State Street Bank. So if State Street Bank fails.
Yeah, but it's also if Gemini is demanding the asset, then the FDIC pays them. Like, yeah, it's making the bank whole, but Gemini is getting their deposit back.
This $121 million should still be around. If Gemini fails, that's not FDIC.
And that's what counterparty risk is. That's what it is. If you're putting, yeah, banks are insured, but this isn't a bank. Yeah, Gemini can fail, but that's counterparty risk. I mean, we're talking about a guy who has millions of dollars in stock in Tesla. And I don't, nothing wrong with Tesla, but that's counterparty risk. Like, things can happen, they can fail. And that's the risk that you took by investing.
Insurance for Gemini. Now, some people go, but Kevin, didn't I hear that, New York regulates Gemini and that there are like reserve requirements? Yeah, there are. In fact, Gemini is a New York trust company, and it's, quote, regulated by the New York Department of State, like financial services.
Don't forget, you're downplaying this, but don't forget, and like I said, none of it matters if it's all over collateralized, but don't forget that that New York hates crypto. You're talking about the world center of finance, the center of the world financial system. Like, they don't have any reason to want this to succeed. And the Winklevoss twins, they wanted everything to be above board with them.
Or whatever. And they say, hey, Gemini's got to keep 10% of assets on reserves. Cool. Okay, fine. Now, multiple loans, by the way, are IOUs, right? So those
multiple loans that are all over collateralized.
Reserve requirements could be scattered at different companies, and a lot of other companies may not actually be registered. So what if Gemini's registered? Plenty of loopholes. That's one example of one. Here's another example of one. Let's think of a traditional bank for a moment. You think, oh, the bank's got to keep 10% of my money around. That's the fractional reserve banking system, right? Which I said I would talk about. Sure, they're supposed to keep 10% of your money around. This is true. But you want to know a quick little loophole that I found? Listen to this loophole. Funds in bank customers' retail checking accounts are shifted overnight into savings account and are therefore exempt from reserve requirements and then returned to the customer's checking account the next business day. Boom, loophole. That's how quick we just got around the Federal Reserve or banking reserve requirements. Well, what about fractional reserve banking? I mean, come on, Kevin. You just described a lending system. Sure, maybe it's not as clear that people are lending their money and maybe there should be better disclosures, but we could do better disclosures. We'll make you DocuSign something next time. No problem. Fine. But now I want to ask you this, okay?
Maybe part of this is the fact that because just reading that little paragraph on collateralization, they were like, we have so-and-so check with institutional borrowers to check on their collateralization systems. Yeah, maybe it doesn't really. This is a problem with just how Gemini disclosed this, because I think this was easy to figure out on the BlockFi website exactly how this system works and exactly why it's pretty safe. But yeah, it almost, the way Gemini put it is they were basically like, well, we trust them, so. But I would imagine that it's the collateral requirements are not a lot different here.
Okay. What is more likely to happen? And seriously, I want you to ask yourself, what is more likely to happen? Bitcoin going from $55,000 because let's say inflation doesn't manifest, which I know that in the crypto community, that pisses people off. It's like, what if inflation doesn't manifest? Ask yourself, is it not?
It's because crypto people are not always macro people. I learned macroeconomics before. I mean, basically, right at the time I was finishing it, right about the time that Bitcoin was being created, the end of 2008. So I loved it and I did well in it, and that's what has always informed my view. So it doesn't piss us all off, but yeah, a lot of crypto guys it does, but they don't understand. They don't understand the macro picture a lot of times. They think they do, but not always.
Even 5% possible that inflation does not happen. I think we can all agree, yeah, that's possible. maybe inflation doesn't happen. It's like, wow, we didn't turn into Japan and we didn't get inflation. Yay, America's great. Could happen. Could collapse. Whether that'll actually collapse Bitcoin or a certain cryptocurrency, who knows, right? Total speculation. We're just saying when and if a crypto collapse.
I mean, Bitcoin will hit a bear market later this year. I mean, it has, predictable four-year boom and bust cycles based on the halving event. But I don't think that inflation not happening is the main threat to crypto or Bitcoin particularly.
This is what could shell shock throughout the entire industry. But what's more likely, since we're talking about, hey, this could happen with the dollar too, right? Fractional reserve banking. I mean, isn't banking the same? Let me ask you this. What is more likely? Cryptocurrency, or Bitcoin in this case, going from 55K to 5K. It's been at 5K not that long ago, right? Or what's more likely?
That would be a norm. By the way, 55K to 5K that would be a drawdown similar to what we saw after the 2017 run. So this is normal. The point is that it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen in a flash of a second. And then nobody had the chance to liquidate their collateral. It draws down. It's not an instant thing. This would be saying that you would have a flash crash of 90% is, yeah, that's pie in the sky. That's never happened. Probably never will happen. I mean, talking about $1 trillion asset here. Come on.
1 USD going from 0.84 cents. I think we're at 84 cents. 84 cents euro. So in other words, $1 converts into 84 euro here.
Well, Forex lesson. Foreign exchange.
Or the dollar turning into, well, in that case, the dollar going from 84 euro to going to 8 euro pennies. What is more likely? The dollar collapsing? The world's reserve currency collapsing? Or Bitcoin dropping from 55 to 5K, causing a bunch of margin defaults, causing liquidity issues at the institution?
No, not going to cause margin defaults. No, man. It's too over collateralized. And it's not going to happen that quickly. They have to keep the value they have to keep it at a certain ratio. Or, I mean, I've been saying it over and over, but it's the key to this whole thing that these loans are secured and the collateral gets liquidated before the company is going to take a loss, the lender.
Institutional borrowers, leading to the collapse of stablecoins and potentially other cryptocurrencies as well. You have to ask yourself, I'm not going to answer that. You have to ask yourself what's better. But I guarantee you, if something like this happens, and I'm in this too, okay? I'm in this. I'm a hodler. I'm like an OG hodler. I don't sell. I don't sell when there's pain. It's fine with me. No problem. I sell when things are up, when I'm making profits. But if this happens, you better believe you're gonna wish you had a JPAL. Thanks for watching. If you like this perspective, check out my courses down below on learning my perspective on building your wealth. Became a millionaire at 23. I'd love to teach you my secrets from investing in stocks, real estate, you name it. Use that coupon code link down below because it does expire on Friday. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
So yeah, that right there is Meet Kevin's doomsday scenario with crypto lending. And yeah, I think it's just missing a small point, man. I mean, there you go. Bam, you saw me do it. Smash the like button. But it's just a little bit unfortunate for somebody with, 1.5 million subs to kind of miss this. And that really could be the fault of the Gemini website. This is way I just feel like BlockFi made it so much clearer. But what you got to understand that, yeah, maybe you're looking at this, you're like, this guy's talking about two different things. It's an industry standard. I mean, they work largely the same way. I mean, in the way that Gemini put it is like, our clients are thoroughly vetted for their collateral requirements. It's like, it does not laid out exactly like this is the ratio like it is on BlockFi, which is like, This is the ratio you can start at. You can borrow half of what, 50%, you can borrow half of the value of your collateral. If that collateral reaches 70%, then we will ask you to post more margin or pay down the loan. If it reaches 80, we're going to liquidate you. I mean, it's that simple. This whole thing is backstopped way at the source. So yeah, that's just yeah. That's how I feel about that. That's the facts of how crypto lending works, and that's why that is a flawed scenario. But just wanted to record something and get it out there quickly. So hopefully we can get ahead of this thing and not let too much panic gather amongst his subscribers. But I imagine what's going to happen is like one of the Winklevoss twins is going to explain this to him, but that's okay. Just one thing I thought was interesting. Yes, the top comment right here. We'll leave with this. Wow, Kevin, this is really impressive research and presentation. As an early crypto adopter, I had a bad feeling about high interest crypto lending / staking, but you hit the nail on the head. Thank you so much for making people aware of this risk. So many people treat these lending and staking programs like they're FDIC insured, but they are not. In fact, staking programs are not even regulated. Dude, lending and staking, two completely different things. Lending is what we know as banking. This is the system that I described to you, except that all of the loans are over collateralized. Staking is what happens in blockchains that are run on a proof of stake network, which is totally different. You're contributing to the network. They're verifying your amount of whatever crypto, and then they're securing the network based on that, and then the rewards that they give is how they print more of the coin. So it's totally different. But just the fact that like this is it's actually maybe not the one with the most likes. That was people are attracted to things that go up, but it still made it to the top. And this is just a lack of this early crypto adopter doesn't understand the difference between lending and staking. So there's a lot to learn in this space. Kevin needs to probably research some of this stuff a little bit more thoroughly before putting out something like this. And a lot of people just need to learn a lot of things. I need to learn a lot of things. But one thing I do understand is this space, because before risking any of my crypto there, I wanted to know how it works. And it's a pretty rock solid system. So, yeah. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.